all. I'd like to say welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, I'm honored to come to you tonight with another friend of mine, a very special friend of mine. We've been friends for many, many years. And I admire her as a mother. And I was just, joking with her before we came on the air. I'm going to have to keep my focus here tonight with regard to motherhood because I'm so used down through the years, I'm always calling her or texting her or inboxing her, asking her for advice, spiritual advice. She's such a powerful woman of God without the spooky weirdness of it that some people have. She's just a real down to earth, loving person. She loves God. She loves God's people. So I'm always asking her for advice regard to spiritual insight. So I'm gonna have to remind myself tonight we're here talking about motherhood. So I'm just so happy to have Dr. YoVanda Brown with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you. So why don't we just start with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a mother of four. I have 11 grandkids.
Wow.
And grandkids are so much different than kids. And my grandkids they're the love of my life. I love my kids, but I love my grandkids.
I understand, believe me. Yeah. Like Traeger, he's got an attitude. Like, you just always, when you call, like when I FaceTime him, he don't even speak. He just put the phone on the baby. And so I was like, Trey, you can say hi. He said, you don't call for me. You never call for me. You just want to talk to Akil. And I'm like, oh, you always gonna be my baby. It's like, whatever, mom. And it's funny because you think back to when your children were small and your mother, you would try to correct them or you would try to do something. Your mom would always like, yeah, all right, leave them alone. And you get an
Yeah.
attitude like, oh my God, I wish you mind her business. These are my kids, blah, blah, blah. And then when you get grandchildren, you catch yourself.
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of love.
It's like when I'm around him, I'm not around him often because they live an hour away. So when I'm around him, it's like he can just do whatever he wants to do. Like I don't care. Like he's pushing my walker. He wants me to sit him on the walker so I can push him. And Chase just sitting there shaking his head. It's like you just let him do anything. And then when I'm on FaceTime and he's doing stuff, I'm falling out laughing. It's like it's entertaining to me. And Trace, I don't know why that's funny. Like, you'll understand it when you become a grandparent.
Right.
So you have 4 children and 11 grandchildren.
Yes.
Yes, wow. I have, what do I have? 2 boys and 5 grandsons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sick of boys. I really told Trey and his girlfriend that this baby had better be a girl or y'all need to take it back.
Okay.
So when they called me and told me it was a boy, I was great. I wouldn't trade him for anything. He's quite a personality. So what are the things that you do professionally, ministry-wise? Tell us a little bit about
Um, Professionally, my day job is working for this division of I don't even know where I work. How about that? I work for the Department of Labor at the employment office. I used to work at the unemployment office, and a lot of people still, like reach out to me in regards to unemployment, but I'm with the employment office by day.
Okay.
By night, I have my own business, and that business is called Shava, and Shava means life giver. And I am a transformational coach. I am a emotional intelligence coaching, and I'm also I'm certified in kinetics, which is nonverbal communication body language expert.
Wow. All right then. See how they know these things. So I'm learning something new tonight. I have seen some invitations to some events for Shava.
Yes.
I haven't been able to attend yet, but I'm definitely planning to because I like to stretch myself, and I'm at that point in my life where I just like always looking for something new. And I
Mhm.
just feel like this is the season where we're being released, not just releasing, but
Right.
we're being released to new things. And so I'm definitely going to check that out. Definitely.
Awesome.
And let me
Awesome.
ask you this question. As a mom, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment as a mom was teaching my children to depend on God. My son, I guess he heard me say it so much. Like, Trey, I don't know how God's going to do it. All I know is he's going to do it. So to hear him repeat this back to me now is so amazing. He's like, I can remember the time his back was up against the wall, and he was like, Mom, look, I don't know how God's gonna do it. I just know God's gonna do it. I'm like, I know
Right.
that's right, Trey.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow. Fascinating. So you have a son and a daughter,
I have 2 sons, 2 daughters.
two sons, two daughters. So what are major differences between mothering the boys versus the girls?
Well, to hear the girls tell it, the boys got away with everything. To hear the boys tell it, the girls got away with
Yeah,
everything. To hear me tell it, everybody got an equal share. So it all depends on who you asking.
right, right, right. I totally understand that. Now, let me ask you this question. Did becoming a mother um, affect your life visions or life goals? Did you have to defer anything?
Mm.
Did you have to change course? How did motherhood affect your dreams?
Well, motherhood affected my life drastically because when I became a mother, I had a book bag on one shoulder and a diaper bag on the other shoulder. I was a senior in high school, a teenage mother, but I was determined I wasn't going to remain a teenage statistic.
All right now.
So my heart's desire was to go to Norfolk State University for accounting, but I just couldn't see me leaving my daughter.
Right, right.
I couldn't see my mother raising my daughter. So I went to Woodridge Business Institute for accounting and got a certificate in accounting, and continued to raise my daughter. And I wouldn't trade it for anything because I still ended up going back to school, but God had other plans, and I didn't go back to school for accounting, but I ended up getting my degrees in pastoral counseling. I have a bachelor's degree in pastoral counseling, master's in theology, and a doctorate in divinity. So
Awesome.
mission
I
still
think
alive.
also when you like, I also had my first son. Had just went to college, and I honestly didn't want to go to college. Like, I didn't go because I wanted to go get a good degree. I went because I wanted to get away from home. I'm just gonna be real about it. And we were raised in really strict holiness homes. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. It was always couldn't, no, no, no. Like, we couldn't even go to basketball games, football games at the high school. Just anything that wasn't church related, we couldn't do it. And so I said, when I graduate, I'm leaving here. I don't care where I gotta go. I'm getting away from here, and I'm never going to church again in my life. So when I graduated, I went to college in Wilmington, Delaware. But I didn't really want to go to school. That wasn't even a part of my dream. It was just my vehicle for getting away from home. And then, of course, I got exposed to a lot of things that I was not permitted to be exposed to when I was at home. And it was kind of like turning a child loose in a candy store and just say, get one Tootsie Roll. It's not going to happen. So I was trying everything people were asking me to try. I was trying it. And then somewhere along the line, I got pregnant with my first child. So I totally understand, like, the whole your life comes to a screeching halt, and now you've got to make major adjustments. You got to make major changes, and it's no longer just about you, right?
Mhm.
So when you become a mom, it's like your heart starts belonging to someone else, and then just every decision you make is about that person. And sometimes we sacrifice the lady I was talking with earlier today, Sylvia. We talked about how mothers just automatically jump to the sacrificial lamb posture when you have children. It's like you just automatically, if I have to do without, I make sure my
Yeah.
children have. If I can't eat, I'll make sure they eat. And we've been programmed that way. And so sometimes we find ourselves suffering and going through things that we don't really have to go through, but we just have been programmed that way. And so I think as your children watch you getting your degrees, going back to school. And it was like, okay, if mom can do this, I can do this.
Mhm.
Because you didn't quit. Like you might have stopped for a while, but you didn't quit. And
Correct.
I'm impressed with that. And it blesses me and inspires me. And I know it inspired your children.
Yes, my oldest daughter, who's 36 now, she she was the first in our family to go to college. And that motivated me because I sacrificed so that I could raise her.
Right.
And for her to go to college, and now she has a double master's degree. um I'm just so proud of her. I'm so proud of all of my children, but I mean, she just pushes, and I really didn't have to like come down hard on her. She was always hard on herself. Like if she got a B, she was crying. I'm like, but what's
Oh,
wrong with you, girl? You got a B. Like, I'm not
yeah.
gonna beat you for that.
Right. Right. Wow. So, but I'm sure she got that drive and that perseverance from her mom as well. What do you think is what is your number one dream for your children? What is the thing that you wanted for them from the moment that they were born, and you still have that dream for them till the day you leave this earth?
That they be the best version of themselves, because I wasn't my best version. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make everybody else happy, and I put myself on the back burner, making sure that everyone else was good when I was lost within myself. So seeing them reach their goals, run after their dreams,
Yes,
achieve whatever they desire to achieve, that's that's my best. That's seeing the best for them.
absolutely. And like when you see them succeed in something, no matter how minute it may seem, if it brings a smile to their face, it brings a smile to your face.
Hmm.
And no matter what bad choices they make, no matter if they go around down the left road when you want them to go to the right, you just keep praying and you keep waiting for them to get back on track. And then when they get back on track, you salute them and
That's
you
right.
don't, step on their neck because they made bad
Right.
decisions. Um, and I remember, especially because I grew up in the church, and not that I only did I grow up in the church, but I was the pastor's daughter. So we all know there's a whole different, that's a whole different dynamic. That's a whole different Zoom meeting um, when you talk about pastors' children, because
Girl.
there's a expectation of us that is just unrealistic, and it puts a lot of pressure on us. And I've said that growing up, people will be like, oh, the pastor's kids, and I'm like, we don't do anything nobody else is doing. Like
Right.
there's not a whole group of crimes for pastors' kids. There's not a whole group of sins that only for we just doing what everybody else is doing. But because of who our parents are, the magnifying glass comes on. So
Right.
I remember when I did get pregnant with my first son, and it was a mess. Like the church people, like the criticism, the kicking me to the curb, the talking about you, like
Mhm.
And then I even had one of my aunts say that I had brought a reproach on the whole family and,
Hmm.
all this stuff. And then I was just sitting down one day and I was all crying and carrying on going. And
Me
it
too.
just dawned on me that this same aunt had 2 children before she got married, but apparently she forgot.
Right.
So it just, so I just said that my baby, no matter what the situation is, he's my baby, he's a part of me, and I'm going to love him. And so that's what I did. Now let me ask you this question. With your children, were you a single mother or were you married with,
Single mother.
which is a whole different situation by itself, because you have to give, you have to kind of fill a void without, because I'm not of the school of I'm the mother and the father, because
Right. Me
I
either.
can't be nobody's father. I just can't
Right.
do it. I've always wanted to be the best mother I could be, but I've never said I'm somebody's father. How do
Hmm.
you feel about that?
I totally agree. My youngest son was 3 years old when I got married. Um, so being in the household with a stepfather and not their biological father, and their biological father, wasn't there prominent in their lives.
Right,
Um, so no, at no time that I'm like, I'm your mom and your dad. No, I'm your mom.
right.
So yeah.
And I'm going to be the best I can be. And the thing about it is, and I shared this earlier also, and I'd like to get your take on that. Um, because as you said, you study human behavior and stuff like that. But why is it that a large majority of mothers that I talk to um, have regrets and have a level of guilt about the way they raised their children or decisions they made that affected their children, whether it was a bad relationship or, um, like in my case, I moved around a lot when Trey was um, coming up, and a lot of it was because of bad relationship choices and trying to get away from abusers and this, that, and other. And so I moved a lot trying to find myself. And
Mhm.
while I was finding myself, I'm dragging him along, trying to, while he's, whatever. So, and when I look back after he got older, I look back and I realized that I had done a lot of damage to him because he was not able to put down roots. He was not able to be stable. And so I did apologize to him, when he was old enough to understand. I apologized for that. But then I found myself feeling guilty, like Kelly and I call it the single mother syndrome. Like you feel guilty that they don't have a father. You feel guilty that maybe you don't make as much money as somebody else. So you end up giving them everything they ask for, doing things that, necessarily might not be good for them in the long run, but you don't want them to feel like they're missing out on anything. And
Mhm.
then I had to like backtrack, like, that's not helping. Like, I'm just creating a monster in this situation.
I totally agree. I would say that mothers feel guilty and have regret. I can say for me because I wasn't honest with me, because I had never dealt with my own inner issues. I'd never dealt with um, being molested by a policeman. I'd never dealt with feeling abandoned and rejected. So I gravitated to men that I thought would fill a void, fill an emptiness, but my kids suffered from it.
Right,
My kids felt the blunt of me being in a marriage that some days it was good and some days it was really bad.
yeah,
Um, he had habits. He used drugs. He sold drugs. It just wasn't a good environment.
right,
And I can remember my oldest daughter saying to me when I moved to Atlanta, and she was grown at this time, and she said, "Mom, your problem is you don't see yourself the way other people see you." And once you see yourself the way other people see you, you won't put up with nonsense.
Right.
So I had to take a look at myself. I had to look and search within me and dig deep within me and get those unresolved issues resolved in me so that I could be a whole woman, so that I could be a complete. And I made myself a promise: areas that I messed up with my kids, I'm going to do right by my grandkids.
Right. Right. I totally understand that. And so it's like, even when you have a mother in your life, it's assumed that if you have a mother in your life, then you're going to be like your mother, or you'll be a good mother because you had a mother. But that's not to say that that mother didn't have her own issues
Right,
that needed to be addressed. So
right.
just because you grew up with a mother in the house and you grew up with your mom, that don't automatically mean you're going to be a great mom. And it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a bad mom. But I think what you just said is key. And I was reminded earlier today, I was talking to my previous guest, is that when you make statements like the one you just made about seeing who you are, and how your daughter pointed it out that you don't really see yourself, it's reminding me, and I think that it's very important that this happened today. And I believe our Father knows all things, and He knows that I needed to be reminded of my purpose for a mother's cry in the first place,
Mhm,
was to have a forum where we empower, uplift, strengthen, teach mothers to be the best version
mhm,
of themselves. And then if you
mhm,
become the best woman that you can be, then it'll pour over into you the type of mother you are. And I've
mhm.
kind of gotten sidetracked from that. And talking to her and to you today reminds me of my vision. And I need to get back on track with that, because I'm talking to so many mothers who are just, they spend more time talking about their guilt and their regrets.
Right.
And they didn't do this for their child. And now the child is like 30, 40 years old and they're still carrying that. And
Mhm.
so until they release that, they're not going to be the best version of themselves either.
That's right.
I
That's right.
appreciate you reminding me of that also.
Mhm. I can remember a time, my youngest son, he was falsely accused. And because of the accusation, he was given 72 counts of charges. And when he was locked up, I remember him calling me and he said, "Mom, get me out of here." And I said, "Trey, I'm going to try." And he said, "Mom, what did you say?" I said, "Trey, I'm going to do it." And the weekend that he got locked up, I had to preach in Wilmington, Delaware that Sunday. He got locked up like on a Friday or a Thursday. And I remember crying out to God, said, "God, I can't do this. Like, I don't know why you put all this on me, but I can't do this. This is my child that is locked up that I can't do anything about." And I remember going to Wilmington, Delaware, preaching, and the pastor at that church, and I was sharing them about my testimony, like my son. And this was around the same time that Trayvon Martin was killed. And my son's name is Trayvon. And I was up about to minister, was just asking for prayer because I don't know how I'm gonna get through the sermon with y'all because I'm broke up.
Right,
I
right.
just don't know. And afterwards, a woman came to the altar and she was just broke down crying. And she said, "I thank you for you ministering about your son being locked up because my grandson, whose name is Trayvon, just got locked up as well." She said, "So I thank you." So even though that was a very hard time for me, it was the most rewarding time for me because the pastor of that church said to me, she said, I hear case dismissed. And let me tell you, all 72 counts of charges were dismissed.
Wow.
The girl that put the accusation on my son, when she put those accusations on my son, he wasn't even in the state of Maryland. He was in Georgia with me. So, I mean, it just blows my mind to think back how horrific that was, but also how just I can't even think of a word, just like how humbling it was.
Right, 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 right.
At that same time, it was crazy, but it was also refreshing to see the hand of God move in such a mighty
Yes.
way. So even though that was a hard time for me as a mother, it was still a refreshing time for me as a mother.
Totally understand. You know, I understand.
Mhm.
Um, because I remember sitting in the courtroom the day that Byron was being sentenced, and I have often said this to people as I sat there listening to the case being presented, and I said to myself, even if I didn't know this person, I would say this case is going to be dismissed because they had, when I say nothing, no physical evidence, no eyewitness. Um, the guy from the crime lab said he took 20 some fingerprints out of the vehicle, not one belonged to Byron. It was just kind of like, okay, let's just hurry up so we can go. So when I tell you, when that judge gave, not only did the jury found him guilty, but the judge gave him 50 years for 2 assault charges. And I sat there and I was like, this is like the Twilight Zone. Like, I know people that have murdered people, pedophiles, repeated over and over again. They don't get this kind of time. But all I know is God has a reason behind it. And ultimately, he's going to get the glory. And
Mhm.
so, as a mother, even though what you say happened with Trey, your Trey, but some years ago, as you were telling her, I could still feel that. I felt that mother's anxiety on the inside because, you know, your child playing outside and fall and hurt themselves, and they come running to you, oh, mommy, you know, that way they're going to die. And you do everything you can to fix it up so you go, okay, mommy took care of it, go, you can go play. But in a situation like this, when your child says to you, mom, help me, you don't know what to do.
Right.
Like, you know, all I can do is pray, but at that moment, they don't want to hear that. They want you to get them out of there. And I
Mhm.
remember the very first time that not Trey, Byron called me, they allowed him to make that first phone call. And the thing he said to me was, Mom, whatever happens, please don't abandon me.
Mm.
And those words have stuck, like I could hear them over and over these last 15 years. And by the grace of God, no matter what happens, I'm never going to abandon him. But it just reminded me as you were speaking that initial pressure that you feel. Like, your mom, you're supposed to fix this. Like,
Right.
do something, call somebody, come get me, break me out, something, do something. Because your mom, you're supposed to. And so
Right.
there you are standing with, this is out of my hands. Like, this is not my area. This is not a mom thing. But I gotta do something. So I totally understand. But I think your faithfulness to God, your faithfulness to serve others, is one of the reasons why God performed that miracle for you, because
Amen.
of your faithfulness.
Amen.
Because there's so many of our sons who are in prison right now for things they didn't do,
Right.
and serving crazy sentences for things they didn't do. So the fact that God did that for your Trey, and he did it for another, minister to another woman who had a grandson named Trey. These are not coincidences. I believe
Right.
that God has a hand in all of that. And
Yep.
again, I think it also goes back to your willingness to help people. And I keep saying that because that's all I know about you. Like, I know you're not God in the flesh. I mean, I'm not like saying that, but I just don't know anything. I just don't know anything negative about you. I don't know. I just know, like, and you can say this publicly, you can say I'm telling the truth. Whenever I have a question about a number, what it means in the Bible, what it means, the first person I think about is I gotta ask YoVanda what this means. Like, I guess she's thinking, my God, child, go read for yourself. But but when I realized that tonight was the night we were gonna talk, I said, okay, stay focused, Jamie. Stay focused on the motherhood thing. But I think all of that kind of is comprises who you are. And you not only mother your children, but you mother other people. You have a mother's heart. I think that is so important because there are people, females who have given birth, but they're not mothers.
Right.
Because it takes a special spirit and a special calling to be a mother.
Absolutely.
I think.
I do too. I truly believe that it takes a heart. Anyone can give birth, but to be able to nurture, to be able to speak life, to be able to help a person, be it spiritual or your own natural child, to grow and come to an aha moment, that's God. And I am so grateful for my own children. I am grateful for the spiritual children. One of my spiritual daughters contacted me yesterday, and she passed the test. She's good and grown, and she just, Mom, I just want you to know I passed this test, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that God has placed people in my life that can call me mom.
Yes.
I count it an honor and a privilege. And there is a gentleman that's way older than me. And he's like, yes, you're younger than me, but I see you as my spiritual mother. I'm like, what? Who does that? But I thank God. I thank God. I thank God for the wisdom, the instructions. I thank God even for the hard things that I had to walk through to make me who I am. I'm not ashamed of things that I've walked through. You may not know of any negative things about me, but I am fabulously flawed.
Yes, aren't we all? Aren't we all? This is why, and it's funny. I like that. I'm gonna have to use that. I am fabulous. That's why I was having an issue with people going for Kurt Franklin's throat, and basically not just discussing what happened, but ready to condemn him to hell, set him on fire, put him in the middle of the woods. Just all of that, because I'm thinking of all the things that I've done and said that
Girl, yeah.
that if it were not for grace and it were not for mercy, and I share a lot of things,
Mhm.
I find that some transparency is good for what I do. But believe me, there's a lot of things I have not shared. Somebody told me they find it hard to believe that I haven't told everything. I said, nope, haven't told everything. Some things I will never tell. But like you said, it made us who we are today.
That's right. That's right. I can remember, again, my oldest daughter. I don't know, with her, I just like, I grew as she grew. So I remember having a conversation with her, not, it's been probably a couple of years ago. And she told her husband, she's like, I've never heard my mom cuss. I don't even think she know how to cuss. But my son Trey, on the other hand, he's got no story to. He was the last one, that last one, like, look, boy, like, look.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can remember one day my ex-husband and I was in an argument and words was just coming out like beep, 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 beep. And so Trey went and got the Bible and brought the Bible to me. I'm like, boy, if you don't get somewhere right now, out my face.
Yeah, this ain't the time. This ain't the time.
So shortly after that happened, we were in service, and he was sitting like towards the back. And the church where we at, the preacher got up and he was like, yeah, and preachers cuss. And my son got up and was like sitting in the back. I'm like, sit down, don't be doing that.
Yes, yes. That is too funny. Wow.
So it's just amazing to me that one child thinks her mom has never cussed. Don't know how to. And then there's another child that has heard all kinds of beep, 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 beep.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
oldest child and the youngest child. So
And it's funny because it's like there's 12 and a half years between my sons. And so it's like starting all over again and all of that. So there's a lot of things that Byron saw, like you said, and then there's what Trey saw, and their experiences are probably going to be different. But I remember one time, this had nothing to do with motherhood, but it has to do with curse. So not too long before Daddy died, I was living with them, to help take care of them. And Ellie was there, and we were in the room, and she said something, and I said something to her. I cursed at her, and I didn't like feel bad or nothing. I just kept right on doing whatever I was doing. So she goes out to the room. She's like, "Daddy, Jamie here is saying a curse words." So I walk out there in the living room, and then keep in mind, I'm like, what, 50 years old, 48, 49, something like that. So I said, "Daddy, you want me to tell you what I said?" He just looks up, him. No, James Cena, just go ahead back in the room. And I went in the room and hollered. And my whole point with that was people acting like it's the absolute worst thing that he could have ever done. Let's just negate every good thing. Let's forget all about every soul that has come to Christ because he said these curse words. And none of us were there, so we don't know the story behind it. We only know the little piece that the son chose to tell. So
right.
all I'm saying is I'm praying for him. I'm praying for families everywhere. I'm praying for my own family, and I got enough to worry about without trying to judge what he's got going on in his life. All
The
right,
truth
now let
of
me
the
ask you another.
matter is, um, I mean, like with Ray Rice, we all got a tape. And
Hello.
it's only but the grace of God that none of our tapes came out.
Exactly.
I mean, so I'm just thankful. I can remember even when the Ray Rice tape came out, and a preacher from Baltimore. I went to a service at the church on Robinson Street. Well, I can't think of the name of it.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't either.
Um, and the pastor there, he came from Baltimore and preached a service, and he started preaching about the tape of Ray Rice. Like, you got a tape. What if your tape came out? And I lost it on that service because I began to think back some stuff and like, Lord, I'm so glad you covered me. Lord, I'm so grateful that
Exactly.
you ain't let my stuff out like this. God, I'm just so grateful because we all have a tape. And the
We
truth
all
of the
have a
matter is,
tape. I love that. That's
God is
beauty.
recording everything. So whether you think nobody sees you, he never sleeps nor slumbers. So how can we judge? For the Bible says, for we all have sinned and come short of his glory.
What it says.
So how can we judge Kirk? Because the truth of the matter, any of us at any unguarded moment, we don't know what we would do.
That's right.
Or or if the buttons are pushed hard enough, what's gonna come out of your mouth?
Right.
So who are we to judge? Now, I'm not saying no, we should be out here just blatantly like just free balling, like just
Yeah.
beep 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 beep. No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I am saying is, as the church, even as a mother, we have to realize that none of us are perfect.
That's
We
right.
are all striving for perfection.
That's right.
So and like I said to even my own son, the first time that he heard me cuss when I was upset in the midst of an argument, like, okay, so now what? He
Yeah.
was like, all I know is that you need to go repent. Because if that was me, if that was me, you would make me do this, you would make me do that. I mean, so yeah. So come on, we can't be judge and jury, because people, I'm not even gonna call it a mistake
Right.
because things happen.
Things happen. And at just like you said, at any given moment, you don't know what you might say. You don't know what you might do, because you can sit here right now. Those of you who are listening to me, yeah, I hear some of y'all saying, I know I wouldn't do this. I know I wouldn't do. You don't know. Because there's certain circumstances that could come up. I remember this lady who said she never said a curse word. She never, whatever, in her whole life. And she was attacked in the street. And when that young man put his hand around her throat, this a person that came to her rescue said she was saying curse words and put them together in a way he ain't never heard in his life. So
Okay.
that's why I say, that's why I don't pay you to say what you want to do.
That's right, because you never know. You
Never
never know.
know. Well, I have definitely gone over our time, but I've enjoyed talking with you tonight. And I'm going to ask you the same thing I've asked every guest I've had. If you had to speak to, well, before I do that, I want to acknowledge we have a young lady on the line. I don't know, maybe she's a friend of yours.
Yes.
If you would like to ask a question, if you had something that you would like to say, Kimberly Wilson, feel free to do so.
Good evening. I don't have any questions at this point. I've enjoyed your session. It's been really wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to be on this call. It's been wonderful to learn about mothers. I am a mother. I was a single mother with a daughter,
Yes.
and there have been some issues going on. But again, you have to lean and depend on God. You have to know who you are. And even as they get older, the mothering still does not stop. You're still going through situations. And when you go through those situations, you have to know, again, who you are in the whole entire situation. And remember that, yes, they are your child, but they're also an adult at this point, and they are held accountable as well. So I thank you for this opportunity, and you will have a wonderful evening.
Same to you. Thank you for joining us. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome.
All righty. Well, Dr. Brown, let me ask you this closing question. If you could summarize in one sentence a piece of advice for every mother listening to us tonight, what would that piece of advice be?
One sentence. Be true to thine own self. That is what I will say to mothers. Be true to yourself. Be true to who you are. If it's not a good day, it's not a good day. If you're on top of the world, you're on top of the world.
Right.
But whatever state you're in, just be content in that moment. And know that if it is a bad day, all things work together for the good. It's going to turn around. It's not going to stay bad always. It's not going to be dark all the time. But the darkest hour is before the break of dawn.
All right.
So be true to thine own self.
True to yourself. I love that. And again, I thank you for spending time with me tonight. I know you have a very hectic schedule, and I appreciate you even agreeing to do this.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you didn't know Mom, but even more than just knowing my mom, you agreed to come and share a part of you with us, and I really appreciate that.
Oh,
Right?
you're welcome. I thank you for the invite. It has been a privilege and an honor to talk, to laugh, to share with you.
Thank you. All right, I'll be in touch with you again about some dream interpretation.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. I love you. God bless
I
you.
love you too. God bless you as well.
God bless you, Sister Kimberly. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. God bless you both.
Okay, good night.
Good night.